good evening. I'm back with the Monday night journal Hookum. Dun, 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 dun. So first I'm going to have some water and hydrate after this long, tedious Monday. It appears an ant has made its way into my water. Though the ant was thirsty too. Ants, anyone? Hope he's okay. He didn't drown. So I have my water. It's hydration time. Hope you're all having an amazing Monday. Hi, Tiana. How are you? Hi, Carla. Hi, everyone who's tuning in. I see the thumbs up and the hearts. I'm excited. Hi, Kristen. If this is your first time tuning in, grab yourself a seat, grab yourself some kombucha, because you know this is how I highlight, right? There's the truth on one side. I don't know if you can read that. It's kind of difficult, isn't it? Oh. So, can you guess the flavor? Applesauce, a little bit of lemon, some vanilla And I'm excited because I was just kind of perusing what I had for a journal entry back in 2015, which is crazy. And I just realized something, because I swore I switched the camera and it just didn't take. That happens sometimes. So, welcome to Monday Night Journal Hookum. For those of you who have never tuned in to a Monday Night Journal Hookum, you're in for a treat. This is something unique I've never done. I started doing it. I thought it was a lot of fun because I like to reflect, and as you know, I do my meditations and my practice, and something usually drops in. Well, my journals are kind of like my log of all the insights I've gotten through meditation, through dreams, through what I was going through at the time, what I needed to reflect upon. And I've also got a couple books off to the side. Osho's Book of Secrets. Oh. And another one called Gifts of Grace from Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Not too many people know about them. This was a book I bought when I went to India in 2013. And it was pretty insightful just going out there. It was fun. So, I also have a little snack so that when I do get a little hungry, I have something to eat. I don't know if you saw these the other night when we were playing in the kitchen. These are the yummy, powerful, raw energy bites, which are really, really good. Just a few simple ingredients, blended up in the food processor. Yummy. A little chewy, but oh so yummy gooey. Actually matches really nicely with the kombucha. So, all right, without further ado, we're just going to dive on in. It's been a really nice day, very busy. A lot to be grateful for, very appreciative. So, we're going back to 2015. On the 12th of February, I had some just unusual dreams of a defense sniper in black and an elegant, wise woman at a house with surveillance system. I don't know exactly what that was about. But then in my morning meditation, I had this message that said, I have to risk not being liked by staying true to me, my soul. That was the 12th of February, 3 years ago, 2015. On the 13th of February, that next day, same year, it was Friday the 13th. And I had written, our experiences, our, gosh, have you ever had that trouble seeing your own handwriting? I can read it, truly. It just looked like it's supposed to be something other than it is. Our experiences are embedded in our stories. Our beliefs, our attachment to those experiences and stories. Drop the story. And then, let's see what else was in that, because the next day. That particular year, my sister was visiting from, trying to think, they were living up in Ithaca where they are now, and they were visiting in Orlando where I got to play with my niece and nephew at Disney World. And I had written about how grateful I was to be able to spend that time with them. Wow. So that was just some short little journal entries. But I'll see what the book says and see if it brings up anything in relation to dropping our stories and risking being liked. Because the reality is the only one that matters about who likes you is really you. So, here we go. I'm feeling very soft tonight. Being on my moon cycle, I just feel like being very gentle and very relaxed. So I hope you're all having deep breaths and embracing the moment. So, When an impulse is authentic, I am unaware. How can I exercise stop? This is from, and the chapter is titled Remaining with the Facts, actually. So this is what I just randomly opened the page up to, and I'm really curious, because usually at the beginning of each of these chapters there's a little insight. So I'm not quite sure. It just says the title of this chapter is Remaining with the Facts, which is kind of ironic now, isn't it? Dropping in the story. So, when an impulse is authentic, I am unaware. How can I exercise stop? In quotes. It's written, this is a very significant question. It is easy to stop anything when you are false. And it is difficult to stop anything when you are authentic. Isn't that interesting? When something is easy to stop, it's false. When something is difficult to stop, it's authentic. When the anger is real, you will forget about the technique of stop. When the anger is false, you will remember you can do it. But when the anger is false, there is no meaning, there is no energy. You can stop it, but it is useless. When the anger is real, only then is the energy there. And if you stop it, the energy will take an inner turn. Ooh, this is kind of deep. Is anybody following this? Even I'm sitting here going, wow, that's really making me think. So what to do is the question. Try to be aware not of anger directly, but of easier things. You are walking, be aware of it. Do not start with anger, start with easier things. You are walking, be aware of it. There is no problem. Then suddenly stop your walk. Start with easy things and then go on to a deeper, more complex thing. Do not start with complex things. Do not jump to sex immediately. Interesting. It is more subtle. You will need a deeper awareness for it. So first create awareness with easier things. You are walking, you are taking a bath, you feel thirsty, you'll feel hungry. Start with these things, all very ordinary things. You were just going to speak something to someone, stop. Even in the middle of a sentence, you were going to relate a story you have related 1,000 times, and you have bored everyone with it. You were again starting, once there was a king, stop. Start with easy things, more easy things. There is a fly on your head and you were just going to send it away with your hand, stop. Let the fly be there, let your hand remain stopped. Do it with easy things so that you have the feel of stopping with awareness. then move to complex things. Anger is a very complex thing. Take a mechanical thing. Every day in the morning you step out of your bed. Have you observed? You step out every day in the same way. If your right foot comes first, it comes first always. Tomorrow morning, when the right foot is coming out, stop and let the left foot come. Do it with easier things. Then there is nothing to sacrifice but a habit. Always you start walking with the right foot first. Stop. Anything can be used. Find something, the easier the better. And when you become a master of easier things and you can stop suddenly and you can have the feel of awareness, a sudden calmness comes to you. For a second, an inner silence explodes. Gurdjieff used to train his disciples in very easy things. For example, you say something and you nod your head. Then he would say to you, say the same thing, but do not nod your head. It is a mechanical habit. I am saying something. I make a gesture with my hand. Gurdjieff would say, do not make this gesture when you say this thing. Remember this. Make any other gesture. Do not make this gesture when you say this thing. Remember this. Make any other gesture, but remember only this. When you are saying this, do not make this gesture. How crazy is that? Changing things up, right? Use anything. You always start your conversation with a particular sentence. Do not start with it. Someone says something and you have a mechanical response. Do not respond that way. Say something else. Or if you have started saying the old thing, stop in the middle. Stop with a jerk. Suddenly. Try this, and only when you feel a mastery, move to complex things. This is one of the basic tricks of the mind, that it will always tell you to jump to a complex thing. Then you are a failure. Then you will never try again. You know that it cannot be done. This is a trick of the mind. The mind will say, okay, now you know that the exercise of stopping will be a failure when you are angry, hot and angry. Then you will not try again. Try with cold things. Do not move to the hot. And when you can do it with the cold things, then move to the hot. With gradual steps, feel the path and do not be hasty. Otherwise, nothing will be accomplished. Stopping in our tracks and changing our patterns and our behaviors and our stories. Do it with easier things. Stop in the middle of it. Start again with something different. That was kind of deep, especially on a Monday. But it's remaining with the facts. That's what it says. The first question of this particular chapter says, you said last night that modern man has become an inauthentic in expressing anger, violence, sex, etc. You say that in India, students and the younger generation are less violent in their emotional expressions than are the Western young. Does this mean that Western youth are becoming more authentic in their expressions? Is permissiveness in the expression of sex and anger a growth toward being authentic in emotional expressions? So again, the beginning of this question was, he's asking about how Osho had said in a lecture that the modern man has become inauthentic in expressing anger, violence, sex, and such. And here's what he says in response. Many things have to be considered. One, to be authentic means to totally be factual. Ideologies, theories, isms distort you, and they give you a false person. You cultivate faces, then whatsoever you show, you are not. The reality is missed and you're suddenly acting and acting. Your life becomes less alive and more a game in which you are enacting something, not your real soul, but the culture, the education, the society, the civilization. Man can be cultivated, and the more you are cultivated, the less real you are. The reality is your uncultivated self, untouched by society. But that is dangerous, he says. A child, if left to himself, will just be an animal. He will be authentic, but he will be an animal. He will not become a man, so that it is possible that alternative is closed. That is not possible. So that is not possible. That alternative is closed. The child becoming the man. We cannot leave a child to himself. We have to do something, and whatsoever we will disturb the real self. It will give clothing, it will give faces and masks to the child. He will become a man, but then he will become an actor. He will not be real. If you leave him to himself, he would be like an animal, authentic, real, but not a man. So it is a necessary evil that we have to teach him, we have to cultivate him and condition him. Then he becomes a man, but unreal. The third possibility opens with these techniques of meditation. All techniques of meditation are really unconditionings. Whatsoever society has given to you can be taken away, and then you will not be an animal. Then you will be something more than a man. You will be a superman, real but not an animal. How does it happen? A child has to be given culture, education. There is no possibility of leaving him to himself. If you leave him to himself, he will never become a man. He will remain an animal. He will be real, but he will miss the world, the dimension of consciousness which opens with man. So we have to make him a man, and he becomes unreal. Why does he become unreal? Because the man is just imposed from without. Inside he remains the animal. From outside we impose humanity upon him. He is divided, he is split in two. Now the animal goes on living within and the man without. That is why whatsoever you do and say is a double bind. You have to maintain a face which has been given to you, and you continuously have to satisfy your animal also. That creates problems and everyone becomes dishonest. The more you are idealistic, the more you will have to be dishonest. Because the ideal will say, do this, and the animal will be quite the contrary. He would like to do something else that is quite the opposite. Then what can one do? One can deceive others and oneself. One can maintain a face, a false face, and go on living the life of the animal. That is what is happening. You live a life of sex, but you never talk about it. You live a life, you talk about brahmacharya, celibacy. Your sex life is just pushed into the dark. Not only from society, not only from your family, but even from your unconscious mind. You push it into the dark as if it is not a part of your being. You go on doing things which you are against because your biology cannot change just by education. Remember your inheritance, your biological cells, your structure cannot be changed just by ideological education. No school, no ideology can change your inner animal. Only a scientific technique can change the inner being. Just immoral teachings will not help unless you have a scientific technique to change your total inner consciousness. Only then will you not be double. You will become single. The animal is single, unitary. The saint too is single and unitary. Man is double because man is just between the two, the animal and the saint. Or you can say, between God and a dog. Man is just inside, in between. Inside he remains the dog, outside he pretends to be God. Ooh. That creates a tension, anguish, and everything becomes false. You could fall down and become an animal, then you would be more authentic than man. But then you would miss much. You would miss the possibility to become God. The animal cannot become God because the animal has no problems to transcend. Remember, the animal cannot become God because there is nothing to be transformed. The animal is at ease with himself. There is no problem, no struggle, no need for transcendence. The animal is not even conscious. He is simply unconsciously authentic. But the animal is authentic, although the authenticity is unconscious. No animal can lie. That is impossible. But it is not because animals maintain a morality. They cannot lie because they are not aware of the possibility that one can be false. They are bound to be true, but that truth is not their choice, it is their slavery. An animal is bound to be true not because he has chosen to be true, but because he cannot choose the other alternative. There is no alternative for him, he can only be himself. There is no possibility to be false because he is unconscious of possibilities. Man is conscious of possibilities. Only man can be untrue, and that is why he can be true. That is a growth, that is evolution. Man can be untrue, and that is why he can be true. Man can choose, animals are bound to be true, that is their slavery, not their freedom. If you are true, that is an achievement because you could always be untrue. The possibility is open, but you have not chosen it. You have chosen the other. It is the conscious choice. Of course, then, man is always in difficulties. Choosing is always difficult. The mind wants to choose something which is easy to do. The mind wants to have the thing with the least resistance. To lie is easy. To be false is easy. To appear loving is easy. To be loving is very difficult. To create a facade is easy. To create a being is difficult. So man chooses the simple, the easy, which can be done without any effort and without any sacrifice. With man, freedom comes into existence. Animals are just slaves. With man, freedom comes into existence. Choice comes into existence. Then difficulties and anxieties. With man, the untrue, the false enters. You can deceive. Up to this point, it is a necessary evil. Man cannot be simple and pure in the same way as animals, but he can be more simple and pure, and he can be more impure and more complex. He can be more simple and more pure and more innocent, but he cannot be simple and pure and innocent just like animals. That innocence is unconscious, and man has become conscious. Now he can do two things. He may go on with his falseness and constantly remain a divide, being in conflict with himself, or he may become conscious of the whole phenomenon of what has happened and what is happening to him. And he may decide not to be false. He may leave all that is false. He may sacrifice. He may choose to sacrifice whatsoever can be gained by being false. Then he becomes again authentic. But the authenticity is different. Qualitatively different from the authenticity of an animal. The animal is unconscious. He cannot do anything. He is forced by nature to be authentic. When a man decides to be authentic, no one is forcing him. On the contrary, everything is forcing him to be inauthentic. The society, the culture, all that exists around him is forcing him to be inauthentic. He decides to be authentic. This decision makes you a self, and this decision gives you a freedom which no animal can attain and no false man can attain. Remember, whenever you lie, deceive, are dishonest, you are forced to do that. That is not your choice, not a real choice. Why do you lie? Because of the consequences, because of the society. You will suffer if you say the truth. You lie and you escape the suffering. Really, the society has forced you to lie. It was not your choice. If you say the truth, it is your choice. No one is forcing you to say the truth. Everything is forcing you to say a lie, to be dishonest. That is more convenient, safe, secure. Now you are entering danger, insecurity, but this is your choice. With this choice, for the first time, you attain a self. So animal authenticity is one thing, and man's authenticity is qualitatively different. It is a conscious choice. So a Buddha is one again. He is like an animal with only one difference. He is simple, pure, innocent like an animal, but unlike any animal because he is conscious. Now everything is a conscious choice. He is alert, aware. The question is, does this mean that Western youth is becoming more authentic? In a sense, yes. It is becoming more authentic because it is falling toward the animal. It is not a choice. Rather, again, it is the easiest course to fall down. Western youth is more authentic than Eastern youth in the sense that they are now falling deeper down toward the animal. Eastern youth is false. Their behavior looks like a facade. Not real but phony, but these two are not really the only alternatives. Eastern youth is false, cultured, cultivated, forced to be something which is not real. Western youth has revolted against this, revolted toward the authenticity of the animal. That is why sex and violence have taken more and more of a grip on the Western youth. In a way, they are more authentic, but in a way, the greater possibility is lost. A Buddha is in revolt, and a hippie is also in revolt. But the revolts are different. The quality differs. A Buddha is also revolting against the conditioning, but he is going beyond it, toward a unity which is a higher than man and higher than animal. You can revolt and go down toward the animal. Then you are also going toward a unity, but that is going down below man. But in a way, revolt is good, because once revolt comes into the mind, the day is not far off when you will come to understand that this revolt is just going backwards. A revolt is needed which must go forward. So Western youth may come to understand sooner or later that their revolt is good, but the direction is wrong. Then it will become possible in the West for a new humanity to be born. In this sense, the Eastern phoniness is not worth anything. It is better to be authentic, to be revolting, because a revolting mind will not take much time to see that the direction is wrong. But a phony youth may continue for millennia, may not even be aware that there is a possibility to revolt and to go beyond. But between the two, neither is worth choosing. The third alternative is the way. Man must revolt against conditioning and go beyond. If you fall below, then you may have the pleasure of revolting. But the revolt has become destructive. It is not creative. Religion is the deepest revolt, but you may have thought about it in that way. We take religion as the most orthodox thing, the traditional, the conventional. It is not. Religion is the most revolutionary thing in human consciousness because it can lead you toward the unity which is higher than animal, higher than man. These techniques are concerned with that revolution. When Shiva says be authentic, he means do not be phony. Do not continue to be phony. Be aware about your false persona, about your clothing, dresses, masks, and then be authentic. Whatsoever you are, realize it. The real problem is that one becomes deceived by one's own deceptions. What do you think so far? Pretty deep stuff. Authenticity, stories. So the real problem is that one becomes deceived by one's own deceptions. You talk about compassion. In India, we talk so much about compassion, nonviolence. Everyone thinks that he is nonviolent. But if you look at a person's actions, a person's acts or actions, at his relationships, at his gestures, he is violent. But he is not aware that he is violent. He may be violent even in his nonviolence. If he is trying to force others to be nonviolent, that is violence. If he is forcing himself to be nonviolent, that is violence. To be authentic means he must understand and realize what is his real state of mind, not ideas, not principles, but the state of mind. Not ideas, not principles, but the state of mind. What is his state of mind? Is he violent? Is he angry? It's pretty deep, isn't it, Carla and Amanda? This is what is meant by Shiva when he says, be authentic. Know what is real, your fact, because only a fact can be changed. If you want to transform yourself, you must know your facticity. I don't think I've ever read that word before. Facticity. Your factability, facts about yourself. You cannot change a fiction. You are violent and you think that you are nonviolent. Then there is no possibility of any transformation. That nonviolence is nowhere, so you cannot change. And the violence is there, but you are not aware of it, so how can you change it? First, know the facts as they are. How to know the facts? Encounter them without your interpretations. That is what yesterday's sutra said. Consider. Your servant has come. Consider how you look at your servant. Your boss has come into the room. Consider how you look at your boss. Is the look the same when you look at your servant as when you look at your boss? Are your eyes the same, or is there any difference? Is there any difference? You are a violent man. You do not look personally at the man, at the human being. You look at an interpretation. If he is rich, you look in a certain way. If he is poor, you look in a different way. Your look becomes economical. You are not looking at the man right before you. You are looking at some bank balance. And if the man is poor, you look at your look has a subtle violence in it, degrading, insulting look. If the man is rich, you have a subtle appreciation, a welcome, a deep concern is always there whatsoever you are doing. Look at your concern. You are angry at your son or at your daughter, and you say you are angry for his or her sake, for his or her good. Go deep down, consider whether it is true. Your son has been disobedient and you are angry. You say you want to change him because it is for his own good. Look within and consider the fact. It is the fact that you are thinking about his good, or do you simply feel insulted because he has disobeyed you? You feel hurt because he has disobeyed you. Your ego is hurt because he has disobeyed you. Yeah, this, and you know, just going back to the part about when you look at somebody and you have a different look about them, that you would look at the rich person and have appreciation is also violence towards yourself, because it's, again, going back to self-worth and value. If you look at a rich person with appreciation of any level, or even with contempt, out of jealousy, it is violence internally, right? Just like the poor person, to inflict your experiences upon another, there's a violence toward the other person, but also to yourself, because you're sharing an experience by the judgment of comparing yourself to the other. Whew, that's pretty deep. It's pretty intense. Hopefully it's not, I hope it's settling with many of you out there. If your ego is hurt, this is the fact, and you go on pretending that that is not the thing. That you are just thinking about his good, and that is why you are angry. You are angry just for him. You are not really angry. How can you be angry? You are a loving father, so you are not angry at all. How can you be angry? You love him so much, but because he is going on a wrong path because of your love, you want to change him, and that is why you are angry? You are just pretending to be angry to help him. Subtlest form of control, thinking you know better for someone else. But is this the fact? Are you just pretending to do, or do you feel hurt because he has disobeyed you? And are you so sure that whatsoever you say is right for him? Go deep down within yourself, look at the fact, consider it, and be authentic. If you are really offended by his disobedience, then know it well, that you are offended and you feel hurt. And that is why you are angry. This is being authentic. Then you can do much for a change in you, because facts can be changed. Fictions cannot be changed. With everything that you are doing or you are thinking, go deep, 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 deep down. Dig out the facts and do not allow interpretations and words to color it. If this consideration is there, by and by you will become authentic. And this authenticity will not be like that of an animal. This authenticity will be like that of a saint. Because the more you know how ugly you are, the more you know how violent you are, the more you penetrate inside your facts and become aware of the nonsense that you are doing. The more this awareness will help you. And by your ugliness will drop away, will wither away, because if you are aware of your ugliness, it cannot continue. Awareness is key to change, right? That's when you have the opportunity to choose differently. If you want it to continue, do not be aware of it and create a facade of beauty around it. Then you will see the beauty, and the ugliness will remain behind, never to be seen directly. Everyone else will see it. That is the problem. The son will see that the father is not angry for his good. He will see that the father is angry because he has disobeyed and he feels hurt. The son will know it. Children are smarter than we give them credit for. You can hide it only from yourself. Your look will reveal to everyone that there is violence. You can only deceive yourself that there was compassion. That is why everyone thinks of himself as a very superior being. And no one else agrees with them. Your wife doesn't agree with you that you are a superior being. And no one else agrees that you are a superior being. Your children are not in agreement with you that you are a superior being. Your friends do not agree. No one agrees with you that you are a superior being. They have a popular saying in Russia that if everyone says their mind totally, exactly as it is, there will not be 4 friends in the world at all. Impossible. Whatsoever your friend thinks about you, he never says to you. That is why friendship continues. But he is always saying things behind you, and you are saying what you think about your friend behind him. No one says honestly what he thinks, because then there will be no possibility of any friendship. Why? No one agrees with you, and the reason is only this: you can only deceive yourself. You cannot deceive anyone else. Only self-deception is possible. And when you think you are deceiving others, you are simply deceiving yourself. It may be that others pretend to you that they have been deceived by you, because there are moments when it is convenient to play the role of being deceived. It may be beneficial for the person. You talk to someone about your greatness. Everyone is talking directly or indirectly about his greatness, his superiority. Someone may agree with you. If it is beneficial to them, he will pretend to you that he is being deceived by you, but he knows inside who you are. You cannot deceive anyone else unless someone is ready to be deceived. That is another thing. By authenticity, I mean, remember your facticity. Always sort it out from your interpretations. Throw away your interpretations and look at the fact of what you are. And do not be afraid. Much ugliness is there. If you are afraid, then you will never be able to change. If it is there, accept that it is there. Consider it. This is what consideration means. Consider it, look at it in its total nakedness, move around it, go to its roots, analyze it, see why it is there, how you help it to be there, how you feed it, how you protect it, how it has grown to be such a big tree. See your ugliness, your violence, your hatred, your anger. You have to protect it. How you have helped it to grow up to now. Look at the roots, look at the whole phenomenon. And Shiva says that if you consider it totally, you can drop it immediately. This very moment. Because it is you who have been protecting it. It is you who have been helping it to become rooted in you. It is your creation. You can drop it immediately just now. You can leave it, and then there is no need to look again toward it. But before you can do this, you will have to know it. What it is, the whole mechanism, the whole complexity of it, how you can help it every moment. If someone says something insulting to you, how do you react? Have you ever thought about it, that maybe he'd be right? then look, he may be right. There is every possibility of him being more right than you are about yourself, because he is aloof, far away, he can observe. So do not react. Wait. Tell him, I will consider what you have said. You have insulted me. If you are right, then I will give you my thanks. Let me consider it. And if I find that you are wrong, I will inform you. But do not react. Reaction is different. If you insult me, I say to you instead of reacting, wait. Come back after 7 days. I will consider whatsoever you have said. You may be right. I will put myself in your place and will observe myself. I will create a distance. You may be right, so let me look at the fact. It is very kind of you to have pointed it out, so I will look at it. If I feel that you are right, I will thank you. If I feel that you are wrong, I will inform you that you are wrong. But what is the need of a reaction? You insult me, then what do? I insult you immediately, then and there. I escape consideration, I have reacted. You have insulted me, so I have insulted you. And remember, reaction can never be right. It can never be right. If you insult me, you create the possibility of my being angry. And when I am angry, I am not conscious. I will say something which I have never thought about you. This very moment, because of your insults, I react in a violent way. A moment later, I may repeat or repent. Said repent. How often have we reacted out of anger, out of fear, out of whatever the emotion that was brought up because we felt offended or insulted? And then what do? We go into the same vibration instead of breathing in deeply and reflecting upon whether or not it's necessary. Because the ego wants to be right and the heart wants to be happy. And not taking things personal. And recognizing that we all have our stuff, our stories, and that if we can be the more conscious being, more mindful of our thoughts, more mindful of the experience and the interactions that we're engaging in, then we can hold the space enough to not fall into the traps of enabling a hurt inner child, somebody who feels something from their ego. In order to shift vibrations and change the world, we have to change the way we respond, the way we interact with one another. We have to change the stories and be very conscious and attentive to the words that we speak and what we feel. Because if we're going to attack and react, we should be prepared to receive the same in return. And so it's really, really imperative that we all step back and see where are we coming from the heart or the head. Huge change can only come from awareness. At the moment you recognize something, you have the choice to act or react, to step back and observe. I need a drink of water. This is pretty juicy. Pretty darn deep too, huh? Most of the times, violence is really in our mind. And then however deep that violence is toward ourselves is how deep it comes out toward others. And remember, reaction can never be right. It can never be right. If you insult me, you create the possibility of me being angry. I'm reading this part again. And when I am angry, I am not conscious. And when I am angry, I will say something which I have never thought about you. This very moment, because of your insults, I react in a violent way where a moment later I may repent. Do not react, consider the facts. And if your consideration is total, you can drop anything. It is in your hands. Because you are clinging to it, it is there. But you can drop it immediately. And there will be no suppression, remember. When you have considered a fact, there will never be any suppression. Either you like it and you continue it, or you do not like it and you drop it. Seriously, that's the choice. We can't make this stuff up. I mean, the themes that come in sometimes and the things we're meant to consider, as this being the month of February and Valentine's and relationships and partnerships seem to be the focus, that in all retrospect, like I've said, we do the most healing, the most growth, we evolve the most through relationship. We can do all the inner work, but it's how we apply it in our closest relations, in interactions. When you go out to the street and you're walking down and you encounter someone new, it's all a reflection of what it is you've learned and how you apply it. You can read the books all you want, but how do you actually integrate it into your personal experiences? Because again, we amass all this stuff, whether it be mental or physical, and how does it serve us? It's in how we apply it in our lives. So now we'll have some things to consider when we have engagements of conversations now, won't we? Noticing if it's violent. So I'm going to close that book. I'm glad to hear this is resonating with all of y'all. And yes, definitely exercising some brain cells. So just a little short sip. If you have any questions you want to type up in the comments, if anybody wants to join me live tonight, you're more than welcome. I'd love to chit chat. It's always beautiful to be able to collaborate with all of y'all. Cheers. Oh, that's good. Are you having any personal concerns with what all of you are going through? Look at that. We need to finish that book, girl, right? Nice, yummy bites. I love to share, right? I tell you what, if you all were here, I would share it with you because I love you. So gooey good. I think we need gifts of grace. Who can't ever use a little bit of grace, right? Okay, I'm going to flip her up. Okay, so this chapter is called Faith and Trust. I think this is worth reading the whole thing, but I don't think we're going to do this tonight, the whole chapter tonight. But what I did pull open too, and caught my eye, juicy stuff here. I love this. I'm really grateful that those of you who are out there really appreciate this as much as I do, because it's fun for me to read over this. Okay. True faith. An unshakable movement of the soul. It's gonna get good. It's gotta be. The perception of the exterior consciousness may deny the perception of the psychic, but the psychic has the true knowledge, an intuitive, instinctive knowledge. It says, I know I cannot give reasons, but I know. For its knowledge is not mental, based on experience or proved truth. It does not believe after proofs are given. Faith is the movement of the soul whose knowledge is spontaneous and direct. Even if the whole world denies and brings forward 1,000 proofs to the contrary, still it knows by an inner knowledge, a direct perception that can stand against everything, a perception by identity. The knowledge of the psychic is something which is concrete, tangible, a solid mass. You can also bring it into your mental, your vital, and your physical, and then you have an integral faith. A faith which can really move mountains, But nothing in the being must come and say, it is not like that, or ask for a test. By the least half-belief you spoil matters. How can the Supreme manifest if faith is not integral and immovable? Faith in itself is always unshakable. That is its very nature. For otherwise it is not faith at all. But it may happen in the mind or the vital or the physical. It does not follow the psychic movement. A man can come to a yogi and have a sudden faith that this person will lead him to his goal. He does not know whether the person has knowledge or not. He feels a psychic shock and knows that he has met his master. He does not believe after long mental consideration or seeing many miracles. And this is the only kind of faith worthwhile. You will always miss your destiny if you start arguing. Some people sit down and consider whether the psychic impulse is reasonable or not. It is not really by what is called blind faith, but by that people are misled. They often say, "Oh, I have believed in this or that man, and he has betrayed me." But in fact, the fault lies not with the man, but with the believer. It is some weakness in himself. If he had kept his faith intact, he would have changed the man. It is because he did not remain in the same faith consciousness that he found himself betrayed and did not make the man what he wanted him to be. Power of the mind, manifestation. If he had integral faith, he would have obliged the man to change. It is always by faith that miracles happen. A person goes to another and has a contact with the divine presence. If he can keep this contact pure and sustained, it will oblige the divine consciousness to manifest in the most material. But it all depends on your own standard and your own sincerity. And the more you are psychically ready, the more you are led to the right source, the right master. The psychic and its faith are always sincere. But if in your exterior being there is insincerity, and if you are seeking not spiritual life but personal powers, that can mislead you. It is that and not your faith that misleads you. Pure in itself, faith can get mixed up in the being with low movements, and it is then that you are misled. That seems to be a very powerful theme as well, and it rings perfectly with authenticity. Because I want to reread this one section right here. The psychic and its faith are always sincere, but if in your exterior being there is insincerity, and if you are seeking not spiritual life but personal powers, that can mislead you. It is that and not your faith that misleads you. Pure in itself, faith can get mixed up in the being with low movements, and it is then that you are misled. Any thoughts on that? Faith does not depend on experience. Faith does not depend upon experience. It is something that is there before experience. When one starts the yoga, it is not usually on the strength of experience, but on the strength of faith. It is so not only in yoga and the spiritual life, but in ordinary life also. All men of action, discoverers, inventors, creators of knowledge, proceed by faith, and until the proof is made or the thing done, they go on in spite of disappointment, failure, disproof, denial, because of something in them that tells them that this is the truth, the thing that must be followed and done. Ramakrishna even went so far as to say, when the only kind to have was blind faith was the only kind to have, for faith is either blind or it is not faith but something else. Reasoned inference, proved conviction, or ascertained knowledge. I'm going to reread that. Ramakrishna even went so far as to say, when asked whether blind faith was not wrong, that blind faith was the only kind to have, for faith is either blind or it is not faith but something else. Reasoned indifference, proved conviction, or ascertained knowledge. Juicy stuff. I love this book. We can all use this grace, right? Faith is the soul's witness to something not yet manifested, achieved, or realized, but which yet the knower within us, even in the absence of all indications, feels to be true or supremely worthy, worth following or achieving. This thing within us can last even when there is no fixed belief in the mind, even when the vital struggles and revolts and refuses. Who is there that practices the yoga and has not had his periods, long periods of disappointment and failure and disbelief and darkness? I'll reread that because it's a little fumble here. This thing within us can last even when there is no fixed belief in the mind, even when the vital struggles and revolts and refuses. Who is there that practices the yoga and has not his periods, long periods of disappointment and failure and disbelief and darkness? But there is something that sustains him and even goes in spite of himself, because it feels that what is followed after was yet true, and it feels, and it more than feels, it knows. So for those of you who were present and participated in today's Rad Kundalini Yoga Challenge, day 22, I was reading the story of Gyan Chakra Kriya and how 2,000 years ago, roughly, they foresaw a big famine coming. And to do this practice daily for 120 days, they were able to stockpile food in the warehouse and attain riches and abundance and be able to take care of everyone for a good 2 years throughout that famine, so that nobody was without. And that's the power of expanding in that particular Kriya. That was the power of expanding the aura and the magnetic field and drawing to you what it is you desire and need. More so need, what the soul desires. And so in times when your life may be in like dishevelment of unknown. I know for me, my life, I tried not to get fixated on one thing. I've done it too often in the past. And so just trusting that inner knowing, right? That you just keep on staying in your power, your personal power. Don't worry about what other people say to you. They don't have to know or agree with what it is you feel. What is your vision? If you feel really, truly passionate, you have the strongest faith because you know in your heart. You don't have to share that with anybody. You don't have to go out reporting it to the world, shouting it from the rooftops. If anything, keep that sacred to you. You don't have, it's nobody else's business. And nobody else could understand or be a part of that vision because it's not part of their path, or it's not part of their journey. So, or even their constitution. Because there's a lot of people out there that just, they've been so conditioned, it's hard to break through that crack, that surface that says, well, this is what has been dictated, so I follow that path, versus I'm going to take a leap of faith. It's shaky, it's scary, it's foreign, it's unknown. I'm going to just hold true and steady. The calm within the chaos. In addition, here's what else is written. As for experience being necessary for faith and no faith possible without it, that contradicts human psychology altogether. Thousands of people have faith before they have experience. The doctrine no belief without experience would be disastrous in spirituality, or for that matter in the field of human action. The saint or bhakta have the faith in God long before they have the experience of God. The man of action has a faith in his cause long before his cause is crowned with success. Otherwise, they could not have been able to struggle persistently towards their end in spite of defeat, failure, and deadly peril. I don't know what X means by true faith. For me, faith is not intellectual belief, but a function of the soul. When my belief has faltered, failed, gone out, the soul has remained steadfast, obstinately insisting. This path, and no other, the truth I have felt is the truth, whatever the mind may believe. On the other hand, experiences do not necessarily lead to faith. One Sadek writes to me, I feel the grace of the mother descending into me, but I can't believe it because it may be my vital imagination. Another has experiences for years together, then falls down because he says, lost faith. All these things are not my imagination, they are facts and tell their own tale. Unshakable faith, sign of the presence of divine will. Does it help if you say, I am sure of the result? I know that the divine will give me what I want? You may take it in that way. This is the answer. The very intensity of your faith may mean that the divine has already chosen that the thing it points to shall be done. An unshakable faith is a sign of the presence of the divine will, an evidence of what shall be. You may take it in that way. Trust. Confidence in the divine. What are the conditions in which there is a descent of faith? The most important condition is an almost childlike trust. The candid trust of a child who is sure that it will come, who doesn't even ask himself about it. When he needs something, he is sure that it is going to come. Well, it is this kind of trust. This indeed is the most important condition. To aspire is indispensable. But some people aspire with such a conflict inside them between faith and absence of faith, trust and distrust, between the optimism which is sure of victory and a pessimism which asks itself when the catastrophe will come. Now, if this is in the being, you may aspire, but you don't get anything. And you say, I aspired but didn't get anything. It is because you demolish your aspiration all the time by your lack of confidence. But if you truly have trust, children, when left to themselves and not deformed by older people, have such great trust that all will be well. For example, when they have a small accident, they never think that this is going to be something serious. They are spontaneously convinced that it will be soon over. And this helps so powerfully in putting an end to it. Well, when one aspires for the force, when one asks the divine for help, if one asks with the unshakable certitude that it will come, that it is impossible that it won't, then it is sure to come. It is this kind, yes, this is truly an inner opening, this trustfulness. And some people are constantly in this state. When there is something to be received, they are always there to receive it. There are others, when there is something to have, a force descends, they are always absent. They are always closed at the moment. While those who have this childlike trust are always there at the right time. And it is strange, isn't it? Outwardly, there is no difference. They may have exactly the same goodwill, the same aspiration, the same wish to do good, but those who have this smiling confidence within them do not question, do not ask themselves whether they will have it or not have it, whether the divine will answer or not. The question does not arise. It is something understood. What I need will be given to me. If I pray, I shall have an answer. If I am in difficulty and ask for help, the help will come. And not only will it come, but it will manage everything. If the trust is there, spontaneous, candid, unquestioning, it works better than anything else, and the results are marvelous. It is with the contradictions and doubts of the mind that one spoils everything. With this kind of notion, which comes when one is in its difficulties, oh, it is impossible, I shall never manage it. And if it is going to be aggravated, if this condition I am in, which I don't want, is going to grow worse, if I continue to slide down farther and farther, if. Like that, and one builds a wall between oneself and the force one wants to receive. The psychic being has this trust, has it wonderfully, without a shadow, without an argument, without a contradiction. And when it is like that, there is not a prayer which does not get answered, no aspiration which is not realized. Sounds very familiar to what I was discussing earlier today in the other video, right? Right. Huge difference between confidence and arrogance. One is ego-based and one is heart-based, right? The only dualities that really truly exist are the mind and the heart. See what I mean? And you know, you have to be humble enough and appreciate everything as it comes. There are always going to be tests in your life to see if you are on your own path of ease and grace. Baboofa's along for the ride. Oh, that cracks me up. So, taking a break. I'd love some feedback. What do you think of these? There's a lot of deep stuff that we just covered here. So for anybody, please, in the comment, I see, Lisa, that you're responding. And you were present earlier. I didn't see all of that last comment you made. But when we really look at what's going on in our lives, you can't help but question, is it true trust and faith? Or is it all ego-based, right? So, Lisa, this is Gifts of Grace, 5 Aids for Inner Growth. And I bought this when I was in India in 2013. It's a beautiful book. It's one of a bunch of books, actually, I brought back. I could have easily picked up, because I just grabbed what I just resonated with and intuitively picked up. There's some amazing teachers around the world. I've probably gleaned insight through books like this. And I haven't even read this one yet. Develop discernment. Yes. But I mean, like, for me, to sit down and read, this is probably the most I get a chance to read unless I'm trying to study for my other programs. And I love sharing it with y'all because then I'm getting the insight with you. So, the Book of Secrets was rather deep. I don't even remember what I just read. That was so crazy. It's an interesting dynamic when we start to read through things, and it just sparks. It trains the brain to think, right? So it's an agility training for the brain, for the ego, the mind, and the heart to just come together and just let's work through this. It exercises your patience with self and your openness to change and opportunity, or even the possibility that you could be right or wrong. And so just reading something like this, you get to sit and reflect and discern whether or not that is true for you or not. Yeah. In this next part it says, if you can keep, right? Power versus force is so amazing. The Book of Secrets is by Osho. I know we provided a link to that book before. I will pull it out and see where it is, because I know I have it. And it's a big book. I love that book. I bought that, I think, in 2005 or 6, and I didn't even know what I was buying. I had no idea who Osho was at that time. So continuing a couple more passages before we wrap up. If you can keep within yourself a confidence, a candid trust which does not argue, and the sense of, yes, it is truly a kind of trust, that what is done for you in spite of all appearances is always the best thing to lead you in the quickest way possible out of all your difficulties and towards the goal. If you can keep that strong in you, well, your path will be tremendously easier. You will tell me that it is very difficult to keep it, but children keep it very well. They must have truly come upon particularly detestable parents to lose it. But if their parents are simply good enough, they can keep this very well. Well, it is in this attitude, if you can tell yourself, Good. Perhaps the divine grace deserves our confidence. Simply this, nothing else, you will avoid many difficulties. Many. In fact, this avoids many difficulties even in the ordinary and many worries. The ordinary life, right? Power versus Force is an amazing book. Exactly. I think Lisa's reading that right now. So she posted a picture. I think she tagged me in it. Isn't that awesome? So these books are always amazing. And if you have any more questions for me, I'd love to wrap. If you want to come on live, you're more than welcome to. You know, that's always fun to collaborate. I'm back on a couple more bites of this. How many of us can honestly say we hold steady to our faith and our trust? I mean, we have those moments. There's nothing wrong with the human condition of questioning and going, I don't know, am I on the right path? I've been doing it. That's what I was expressing the other day. To question everything I've known and been doing and holding steady to in my faith. And then today to also point out that when I get nervous and I feel fearful, that's the moment when I need to step into knowing that everything's going to be okay. Because the way things unfold is never going to be for your demise. It's always for your highest good. It's always guiding you. Your life is being led in the direction it's meant to. Even when you think this is difficult, that is easy, the reality is neither or. It's just your resistance to it and how you're showing up to it. If you resist something that's happening to you, you're creating your own suffering because your attachment to the way you want it to be is so darn strong. You're not allowing what may be easier and more comfortable. Because sometimes what we hold to, the attachment that is so powerful within us, is really just familiar, not better. What we desire could be something that we never had. But then when we get it, we may find, what was that all about? It was nothing special. So allowing yourself to be guided takes serious trust and faith that it's going to be so much better than you could ever imagine or have any expectation of. Don't let yourself question your own trust and knowing. The power of the mind is really in the heart. Love bites. So, my lovelies, my rock and rad stars, hope you enjoyed this. Send me some comments in the comments or questions in the comments and let me know how this hit home for you. I'm going to relax for the rest of the evening. It's really hot. You all have an amazing evening and sweet dreams. I love you. I love you. I love you. Mwah, mwah.